Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Monster's Den. We've got the same crew as we had last week because this is part two, kind of what we started last week. So on last week's episode, we ranked the Alien franchise, all 6 films. Today, we're going to rank the Predator franchise, 4 films. And then, of course, foreshadowing next week, we're going to talk about the 2 Alien versus Predator films. So before we get started here, let's introduce the crew. Starting from the bottom, going up top, we've got Mr. Chris Laszlo, Rich Catino, Craig Kaminski, and Jamie Laszlo, who's got some interesting stuff going on his little screen behind him. I see. Very cool. So, like I said, I almost said 4 Alien films, 4 Predator films. Got a 5th one coming out in just a couple months.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that at a later date. But we've all pretty much rewatched these, rethought about them over the last couple of weeks. And today we're going to rank them as we like them. So we'll have Chris kick us off with his number 4.
Okay. This was one that I talked about with Craig recently because of the 3, it's the only one I don't own. I remember when I saw it in a theater, I fucking hated it, and I never saw it since. So I was trying to find it somewhere streaming, but because I hated it, I didn't want to pay for it. And luckily enough, I caught it on cable. They had it on demand for free, so I watched it 2 nights ago, and it's 2018's The Predator, and I fucking hate this movie. Again, I should point out, as I did in the Alien episode, when I mentioned that I have a pretty large alien tattoo. It's like, I don't know, 4 inches by 13, 14 inches. On the other side of my leg, I have the Predator tattoo. So, I take both of these franchises seriously because these things will literally be with me till the day I die. I hated this movie. I really hated it because I had heard what it was going to be. It was going to be these 2 good guy predators that came to Earth, and they were going to help and fight alongside a bunch of army guys, and they were going to fight off some big ultimate predator. But apparently they ran test screenings, and people were a little mixed on it, and the studio didn't like it, so they completely changed it and reshot, like, I think over 30% of the movie. And if you watch the movie, it is a jumbled mess of a film. And this movie actually has had 5 different endings. That's how fucking messy this movie is. There was the original ending, which they never filmed, but then they filmed 4 different endings for this movie.
Chris,
Yes.
the way it starts off, it could have gone with that original story you were talking about, the way the alien crash lands, they find it, and you could have taken it from there. But like you're saying, then it changes direction. And
Right. And that's the problem. If you watch this movie now, the way it is, they're like, oh, the predator that comes to Earth has a gift and it wants to help humans. But it's like, but wait, that doesn't make any sense, because from that very first scene, Rich, that predator is killing humans.
And he ejects his cargo too.
The fucking guy kills like 20 people. So he's a good guy? That makes no sense. And not to mention too, the CGI is terrible. It's like watching a 90s video game. I mean, that ultimate predator is laughable. The predator dogs are terrible.
dogs are terrible.
So it's just, there's a kid that's like autistic, but yet he's a super genius. It's just terrible.
I'd hate to see those other 4 endings if that's the one they chose.
Yeah, I don't know which one is the worst. I think the best one is the one they didn't use, which was they wanted to get Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the line was they wanted to have Arnold show up at the end with the big fight on the mountain, and the line was going to be, Arnold was going to say, "Come with me if you want to live," and cut the credits. And basically they felt it was the Luke Skywalker ending from Force Awakens.
But that movie's not good enough to have a cool ending like that.
Well, they met with Arnold, and he's like, "Well, dude, you got to give me
More than
either got
that.
to guarantee that the next movie's guaranteed, or you got to give me a bigger role in this movie."
Yeah,
And
he
they
would
were
have done
like,
it. He would have done it. He just wanted the money
Yeah.
and a larger
More screen time.
but they were
role.
like, no, it's going to be the next movie. And honestly, if he was in the ending, maybe that would have created enough buzz to get to the next movie. But yeah, the movie as it was just a convoluted mess. Way too much comedy too. I mean, people are literally killing each other, and they're like cracking jokes at the same time. I mean, literally, our hero murders a guy in front of his son, and they're like cracking jokes about it.
Yeah.
Like, I
No,
don't know
no
about
more
you
killing
guys.
after this one. Haha.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, wait, if I saw my dad, even as a 9-year-old, if I saw my dad murder a dude 2 feet from me, I don't know if that'd be funny. You know what I mean? It's just a mess.
And just imagine how bad the act, I forget his name, the actor who played the Punisher, who gets to play this idiot who
Thomas
has
Jane.
Tourette's.
That was one of the things that while I was watching that I don't think that Boyd Holbrook, the main character, I don't think he was strong enough of an actor
I agree.
to carry the movie. And
To
then
carry
I'm
the movie,
watching
yeah.
this, and it's like, why isn't Thomas Jane in that role? I mean, he was the main actor in The Mist, Deep Blue Sea, and the Punisher, and other things. Plus, he's done comedy. He had an HBO show called Hung. So I didn't understand why he was sort of in a secondary role in this movie. And it's like it's almost like they switched their scripts or something, and it's like, oh, you get to be the lead actor in this movie. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. Plus, too, I mean, I just kept thinking, well, out of all of these Predator, Alien, and Alien versus Predator movies, like, this is the only one where like the child is like practically the star of the movie. Like, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah. Unless you're deliberately trying to appeal to a younger audience.
Right. But I thought this was rated R.
It was rated R.
It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
and
just
all the-
trying to
and
do
all the
different things,
swearing,
I think,
too.
with each movie.
And
That's
that-
the problem.
And I read an interview with Fred Decker, who wrote and directed Night of the Creeps, and worked on this movie with Shane Black, co-wrote the movie with him. And he actually said that, Rich, that like the studio was literally just throwing shit against the wall, just trying to make it
Something
stick.
new.
I mean, real quick, because I don't want to, fill up this whole episode, but the other 4 endings, the one from the test screening, it's actually in the trailer. They're on the big fight on the mountain, and Boyd Holbrook sees more alien predator ships in the air, and he looks up in the sky and he's like, "Come on, motherfuckers, we're still alive." That was the original ending at the test screenings, and audiences didn't like it. So they quickly, in 7 days, they shot 3 more endings, right? It was the same ending we got. There's the ending we got where the pod comes out and that stupid thing, the little spaceship jumps out, and it turns into be like an Iron Man Predator killing suit. That was one ending. Hold on. The next 2 are even dumber
The
because
spaceships are horrible, by the way. Also.
looks terrible.
basically.
everything looks terrible.
Yeah.
The other 2 endings, same thing. It's a pod, but the pod opens, and in the first one, it's a woman in an astronaut suit, and she's got a mask on her face, but it's a breathing apparatus mask, but it looks like a face hugger for some reason, but it's not a face hugger. It's a breathing mask, and on her chest it says Ripley. True story. And then they shot the same exact ending with the same exact stunt woman, only on her chest it says Newt. It's like, but wait, Ripley and Newt were
Those
alive
are-
like 200 years after this movie.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, but that just proves how fucked up the studio executives were,
They
and we're
couldn't
literally grasping for straws, throwing shit against the wall. Like, we don't know what we're doing. This movie's a mess. We're trying to save it, and nothing worked. It's a disaster.
You know what's really funny to me is like you have these, people in power at these film studios who you would think would realize what it takes to make a good movie and write a good script. And in so many cases, they don't. And then you get these shows like this, where you have average Joes like us talking about it. Any one of us could have come up with a better story for this movie than they did.
100%.
Because you
What's
get
so hard about
too many people involved with it, and it
I guess. Yeah.
messes it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what seems to happen too, so common, and again, I want to shut up so everybody else can talk, but it seems like what they do, because it's corporate in corporate America, we all know how that works.
Yeah.
They get the idea for the movie, and they go, great, okay, Predator is going to come out October 21st, 2024, but there's no script, there's no cast, they have the date, get on it, figure it out.
And then it's down to crunch time.
Yeah, then they scramble and they're like, then the movie comes out and it sucks. I wonder why. Well,
All right.
Can I just tell everyone out there, right before we started, Chris said, hey guys, can everyone kind of hurry up and not talk too much
I know,
tonight?
I'm
'Cause
sorry.
I got things
That's
to
it.
do.
I'm going to be quiet on the next three. It pissed me off so much rewatching it the other day, Jamie. I was like, holy shit.
Well, because it does suck when you have a franchise that you love so much, and
Oh, yeah.
they put out such. I mean, we this is like we talked about this last week on the Aliens episode. It's like you got this this wonderful franchise with a few really good movies, and what happened to some of them, right? It's like, how could it backfire so bad?
Yep.
So yeah,
It's true.
all right, Rich. I think I know where we're all going here for number 4, but Rich, what do you got for?
Yeah, I can't say any more than we've already discussed. It's at my number 4 as well.
Yep.
I didn't like the dog. The CGI, like we were saying, it's not very good. For the creature, the dog too, like they just put like the hair things in it from the Predator.
Give him dreads,
Like that
yeah,
was
right?
kind of it. It was just a dog. Like that's terrible creature developed, Yeah, and all the same reasons we're talking about. Just didn't work as a story. I didn't like the giant predator. I know they're trying to show the thing evolves, into this, because like in Predator 2, you see all the other predators that are different from each other. So that kind of makes sense, as far as maybe a different kind of predator. And the same thing with predators. There's a couple different types of predators, but as a whole story, the delivery, plot, yeah, the dog wasn't working for me either. So it's at my 4 too.
Cool. Craig?
Yeah, I concur. I also have the Predator as my bottom one, and Chris didn't mention the whole Olivia Munn incident also with the Predator, and you can, in a nutshell, Shane Black, the director, cast a friend of his who, supposedly unbeknownst to him, was a convicted sex predator or something, and he had a minor role in the movie. Once word of that got out, Olivia Munn, I believe his character comes into contact with her and is supposed to be sort of touchy-feely with her. She didn't appreciate that, wanted wanted those scenes removed. You can kind of tell that where those scenes of the movie were, because when you first see Olivia Munn, she's kind of like just standing on the sidewalk with her like pet dog. And a van pulls up, almost like in the movie Old School, and just says, quick, get into the van and leave your dog there. And it's just sort of like, well, what the hell? Who is she? What is she doing? I believe they had an intro to her character that was just completely edited out because of the shitstorm that they faced because of this. I had mentioned to Chris the other day also about just how much of a mess this was with editing. At the very end of the movie, when they're having the big fight scene, they actually show the one dog that lives. They played fetch with it a few times. They threw it inside a truck and closed the door. So then the Predator ship flies away, and they show Olivia Munn. It's like, there it goes. I mean, it's going. It's far away. The ship does its, eventually it crashes. And then all of a sudden she's standing there with the dog. And I was like, well, wait, how did that happen? How did she get there? I mean, it was just a mess with just things not making sense. And the one guy, I believe, was it Thomas Jane or whoever, shoots the dog in the head. I mean, it's dead and it comes back. I don't know how or why. It's almost like it's brainwashing wore off. Now it's just a lovable big alien dog.
I thought that was the bullet that screwed up its brain.
Yeah, or it
But,
unscrambled his brain.
Scrambled his brain. All of a sudden, now he's being friendly towards the humans. And
Yeah,
we wanted to kill him. 10
Craig's
minutes
right.
before.
That character was cut out, and Sterling K. Brown was the main villain. But in
Yeah.
actuality, Sterling K. Brown reported to Edward James Olmos, who was the main
Right.
villain in the movie. But then they cut out all the scenes with Edward James Olmos.
And how disappointing is it when Sterling K. Brown finally meets his comeuppance in the movie? What, doesn't he accidentally shoot himself in the head? I mean, is that because he has the Predator cannon on his shoulder? He turns and it shoots him, and then that's it. He's gone. I mean, it was just so ridiculous. And last thing, it's just I'm sure all of us, when you heard that this movie was coming out, because there's a good gap between other than between Predator and Predator 2, there's a good gap between all of these movies.
Yes.
I mean, when I read that when The Predator was coming out and that it was being directed by Shane Black, it's like he was in Predator, as Hawkins. I want Hawkins' body found, and turns out he became a famous director. Directed Iron Man 3. So
I think he got the part because he co-wrote Predator 1, if I remember.
Yeah, but you were kind of looking forward to this and saying, "Wow, this sounds pretty cool." And as Chris mentioned, all these leaked story ideas that were coming out, with all of this behind it, you were really looking forward to it. And then when the finished product comes out, it's just a mess. So
it's 8 years after Predators.
Yeah,
2018.
so it's a long gap between some of these movies, especially between Predator 2 and Predators. But anyway, that's my number 4. Just a disappointing mess. I wish it would have been better.
Yeah, I think we all do. Jamie.
Yes, I agree. It's a pretty dumb movie, but it's not my number 4, believe it or not.
Wow.
It's dumb, but I'm not bored when I watch it. I'm bored when I watch Predator 2, though.
Ah.
I'm very bored. I know it's become this cult classic. Some of these movies, man, I just don't understand how they become cult classics, but whatever. I'm not on board, though. It's cheap looking. It's clunky dialogue, clunky direction. Danny Glover, miscast, I think. Danny Glover is a fine actor. Don't like him in this movie. I keep waiting for Riggs to show up. I feel like I'm watching Abbott without Costello. I want that chemistry between the both of them. It's so cheap looking that it's so funny. There's a scene where he finds a piece of one of the weapons to the Predator. And I'm sitting there rewatching it because I saw it once in my life. And I think it was like on TNT or something in 1993. So like 3 years after it came out. So it had commercials and all kinds of shit. So I'm rewatching it the other day and he holds up that piece and I'm like, that looks like something you buy at Walmart, real cheap. And he literally says right after, I think that this is not something you buy in a hardware store. That's exactly what it looks like to me. So
you know
very
what?
cheap in a hardware store.
When I watched it again,
So
real quick, when I watched it again, it looked like a cheaper version of what they were trying to do, like in the first one. But the first one looks a lot better quality wise than this one.
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
took
this had a
plot.
lower budget.
They just put it. It's like they took the premise of the first one and just put it in the city, but it didn't work as well.
Yeah, and then they got this obnoxious character in a sequel to an action horror, and they go, who should we get to play him? Call Bill Paxton. But he's not half as good as he is in Aliens, not at all. You get a crime lord. He's got 2 swords. Oh, this is going to be awesome. No fight. You see nothing. The Predator goes down into the subway. Of course, all the lights go off because the less you see, the less we spend. So yeah, and at the end you see the xenomorph skull, and it's not a Easter egg either. They put it right in your face, and I'm thinking, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing in the 2018 movie. This movie is not cool enough to have that in this movie. You got to be a good movie. And look, they could have all that clunky shit, dialogue, directing, and have a charm to it if it wasn't called Predator 2. Predator set the standard. It's pretty well done. Now you're doing a sequel that's not half as good. It's kind of like Jaws 3, Aloe. I know you like Jaws 3, but if they would have called that movie Shark Attack or some bullshit, fine. It's a fun, stupid movie, but it got that Jaws tag to it. It's part 3 to one of the best movies ever made. You cannot make a movie that fucking stupid with Jaws part of it. And I'm talking to you, Jaws the Revenge, as well. So yeah, the standard was set, the expectations were there, and it didn't hold up. And I'm bored. When I rewatched it the other night, I was on my phone a lot. What's on Facebook? You know, let me check my email. And that's not a good sign when I'm watching a movie. So yeah, Predator 2. And I do have them all on the 4K thing. You can get this pretty cheap for like $30. 4K and regular Blu-ray. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going with the Predator as well. It's my number 4. I actually saw it for the first time last week. I've had this set for a while, but I never saw it in the theater. Just for whatever reason, never watched it. And yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. How about, the great Olivia Munn, who they introduce as she's like this meek scientist, and then 10 minutes later, she's like firing machine guns, and all of a sudden she's like, Ripley Part 2. I was like, all right,
She jumps off a bridge to land on a moving bus.
Yeah.
To shoot at the Predator.
They have that in med school.
Yeah,
I guess so.
When a minute earlier, Jake Busey says, "Get him," and she's like, "It's not my crazy animal." It's like, wait, but this makes no sense. Then why is she? So yeah. Mess. Yeah.
And she got naked, but yet you didn't see anything. Right. I mean, there. So
that's comment of the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, and granted, like Jamie said before, I'm not bored when I watch it because it is a fast-paced movie, but it's got so many holes. I mean, you could literally pour water through it and it's going to come out all over the place. But yeah, it's easily, for me, the worst film in this franchise. And I think could have been better, and it should have been better, but that's what we got.
Pete, did you laugh when you actually got the translation of the Predators talking?
Oh,
when
talking too is not.
Talking Predators is never a good idea.
I have enjoyed your.
Yeah,
they've enjoyed you murdering each other. Please do it again.
I will give you a head start.
It's giving me a Predator boner. I mean, it's so fucking stupid.
He says motherfucker in 2 as well. And I'm like, no,
yeah, why repeat the same line? Yeah, why do that again too? That was not.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the Predator subtitles too. Before he's talking into the universal translator at the end of the movie.
No good. All right, back to Chris, number 3.
All right, see, I'm gonna make these next 3 real quick. Predator 2. It's okay, but it's not super exciting. I don't like, every time I see Danny Glover, I was waiting for him to say, "I'm too old for this shit." So
you should have said it at one point.
Should have said that. Yeah. But it does have, I know Jamie said it's not an Easter egg, but at the time it was, because nobody knew, and listen, I'm sure there's plenty of people, even in the I think I was the only guy in the fucking theater in 1990 going, "Holy shit, it's the alien head."
My friends and I did that too. Yeah.
I think isn't there a face hugger too to the right also?
That I don't remember.
One of them looks like a dinosaur skull or something.
Yeah, I saw it when I watched it again, a face hugger there too.
They do a close up right on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make it. Yeah, you can definitely see it.
But anyway, that's my pick, Predator 2 for number 3. It's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible in my book. Nothing as worse as Predator, the Predator.
What really sucked, they threw that Easter egg there, and then you had to wait how many years for the Alien vs. Predator film?
Yeah,
2004.
Long time.
Predator 2 was 1990.
1990.
And then Alien vs. Predator was that 2003 or 4?
4, yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
Long time.
That's a long time. Yeah. All right, Rich.
I was just looking up when that came out, Alien vs. Predator. So yeah, that mine is Predator 2 as well. Next one, all the same reasons you guys have been saying. Like I said before, I think it just looks cheap too. It looks like a cheap knockoff of what they did and set the standard in the first one, but just put it in the city. There's a lot of the similar type of things they try to do. I don't really like special effects, especially when Danny Glover sees the Predator for the first time on top of the building. And he's not hidden by any of the greenery in the forest, and he's just on top of the building, and he just sticks out like a sore thumb. Like not even like, you know, the outline of it or something. It's just, you can see all the green in there. It just looks terrible. So that's why it's my number 3.
Cool. Greg?
Yeah, I also have Predator 2, but I'm as my number 3. But I'm going to say I really, when I saw this in the theater, my friends and I, we really enjoyed this, and I thought that it kind of got an unfair shake, I think, at the time, because I think a lot of people kind of wrote it off that it's like, well, Arnold's not in it, so therefore it's not any good, because Schwarzenegger had a really good nose for picking, especially during this time, a really good nose for picking out his roles. That he, with maybe one exception of Red Sonja, and he's not even the main character in that, every movie that he had was pretty much a hit. Even Raw Deal, Red Heat, Total Recall, Terminator, everything that he did was pretty much gold. And so I think a lot of people kind of wrote it off, and I kind of liked Danny Glover in that there weren't a whole lot of black guys who were like carrying these movies back then, and I don't know, it's and I think I thought he was fine, and he's a good enough actor, I think, to carry the role and everything. It's kind of funny seeing that there's several Lethal Weapon people in the movie, where you have.
I was going to say Lethal Weapons. He was in the 2 Lethal Weapons.
I mean, you got obviously Danny Glover. I think he was a sergeant in the very beginning of the movie. He was their commanding officer in Lethal Weapon 1 and 2. The guy who said, no smoking in my office and everything. And then obviously Gary Busey is in Lethal Weapon 1, and he shows up. So the whole back half of the movie is like one giant chase scene, really. I mean, it really doesn't let up, but once they go into the warehouse, they do sort of take what you already knew about the Predator and build upon it a little bit. They give him some different weapons. They show you that he doesn't just see in thermography, that he can flip his vision into other things. So I mean, and the weapons that he did have were pretty cool. I mean, the discus, the extending spear, the net that he throws.
I think the net was the best effect. The other things, they look pretty bad.
But I mean, it gave you something else. The first movie, he just had the cannon and like the claws, like when he was close up and everything. But some of the other parts. I mean, with the supporting characters, was maybe not as good as it could have been. But
pretty good cast overall, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Maria Conchita Alonso and Ruben Blades. So the guy from Adam 12 was their boss, So I mean, and Calvin Lockhart, the Beast Must Die. He was King Willie. I didn't know that until I watched the credits, and it's like, wait a second, I know that name. And then I looked it up. It's like, oh my God, it's a guy from The Beast Must Die. He was King Willie in that for a whole 2 minutes when he showed up, and the whole thing with the the alien head showing up at the end. My friends and I, when we saw that, we were as Chris said, we said, holy shit, look at that, and that it was a lot of fun. So I mean, I can understand though why you guys have it where it is, and I have it where it is too. But I still do enjoy the movie. So my number 3 is Predator 2.
Cool. Jamie.
Speaking of Lethal Weapon, didn't Shane Black direct Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2?
Richard Donner did all 4.
He did it? Okay. Shane Black was involved with Lethal Weapon somehow?
He might have
writer.
Maybe.
Yeah, he might have.
Yeah, he wrote it.
Something.
Yeah.
He's done quite a bit. I mean, I'm not a big Lethal Weapon fan,
right.
so I couldn't tell.
And I think he was involved with the last Boy Scouts and Iron Man 3.
He did Iron Man 3 and Kiss Kiss
Yes.
Bang Bang.
I was just gonna say Kiss
Kiss
Bang Bang.
Okay,
Yeah.
Last Action Hero. I think he was involved with. So what I'm saying is, going into this movie, you're going to get a sense of humor with the action. It's kind of like a buddy cop film, but instead of 2, you get 7 of them. And yes, the jokes are forced. Yes, there's too many of them, but some of them are funny. Some of them make me laugh. The Tourette's guy, he just says for no reason, what does he say? Fuck me in the face with an aardvark. It makes me laugh. And then he says right after that, I want to be famous for no reason. Makes me laugh. So I'm not going to hate on a movie too much. It made me laugh a few times. Yes, it has all the problems we already said. Another problem I do have with it, the two leads, their names are Quinn McKenna and Nebraska Williams, like two extra cool sounding names. And they try to act like cool characters over the top. That's almost a parody of two cool characters. Like you're watching Hot Shots Part 2 or some shit, you know? So yeah, and then towards the end, I was watching it again. This is the second time I watched it in like 4 months now. And I was saying, this is getting close to Batman and Robin dumb.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's
The
1990.
last 20
It's the
minutes
very end of
is
the
dumb.
80s, yeah.
Dumb. The first half of this movie is dumb, but it's entertaining me. And the second half is just plain old dumb. So
Jamie,
yeah, I'm
I
putting
actually
it.
said when I
But
watched
when it
it
comes
last
down
night-
to it, I only like 2 of the 4 movies so far. I'm only batting 500 here.
yeah, when
This
I
was
watched it last
1990,
night,
so Wookers.
I actually said when I finished watching it last night, the second half is definitely not as good as the first half. And I just obviously they reshot stuff. I remember I said out loud in the TV room going, I feel dumber for watching this again. Like it's just so stupid that like
Yeah,
I feel it's hurting my brain cells.
And the little kid murders the kid at the trick-or-treating house, right?
Yes, blows up the whole
he
fucking
totally,
house.
he totally blows up that kid.
And that's okay.
And it's like, that's all right.
And then at the end, he's part of the crew. He's got his own desk.
Ah,
Yeah, you see,
on the payroll.
yeah.
your tax dollars at work.
Got a 401k already.
He's like Wormser from Revenge
Fucking
of the
kid's
Nerds.
probably making more than all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he was a genius savant. So.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3 is Predator 2. And actually, you know, if we'd have done this a couple months ago, might have been number 2. I actually like Predator 2. I think it's fun. It's got its faults as well. And I'm not 100% sold on Danny Glover in the role, although I think he does a pretty good job considering, because I don't see him as an action hero, but I think he does okay. I think Craig is absolutely correct. The whole last half of the film is pretty nonstop, and that's the best part of the film. I like the cast. There's a lot of people in here. Bill Paxton cracks me up because, again, he basically is playing the same role that he played almost a decade before, or not quite a decade before, but a bunch of years before in Aliens. And he's just, trying to give him all the great one lines and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's dead. So it's like, all right, whatever. But it's like, hey, man, it's just total Bill Paxton from that era. But yeah, it's kind of lacking compared to that first film. And as I've found out, it's still pretty lacking compared to the film that came after it, I think, when you watch these again all these years later. But it's still kind of cool. And I think I appreciate it for the fact that they took the Predator out of that kind of jungle setting and gave you a little something different. So I can kind of appreciate that. But what could have been cooler is to have a bunch of Predators loose in the city.
In the city instead of one. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would
instead of one. And do we really need to see Morton Downey Jr.? It's like, oh God.
Big at the time.
I'm sure it was funny back then.
Yeah, because he was hot back then. I know. Yeah, but
Yeah.
now you look at it and you're like, I mean, his whole shtick didn't really age so well over the years. But yeah, so that's my number 3.
And keep your eye out in that movie for Terry Weigel, future porn star, in at least a couple scenes in that movie. So as soon as she's on there, it's like, yep, I remember her.
Knew there was a reason I like this guy.
Yes.
Because paying attention to the important stuff, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, number 2.
All right, I'll make it quick. Predators from 2010. I think this movie's a lot of fun. Long story short, a bunch of assassins and mercenaries and murderers wake up on a weird alien planet and find out that they're in a hunting ground by the Predators. There's a lot of action. There's a couple twists and turns. Really good cast. It's not amazing, but it's a lot of fun, and I think it's the best of the Predator sequels. And that's my number 2.
Rich?
Yeah, I agree. And I like the way the people are as hunting, almost hunting each other as much as the Predator is hunting them too. Because they're trying to survive and kind of help each other out, but still, like what's his name? Topher Grace's character.
Yeah.
You know, you think everybody's helping each other out, but everybody's kind of looking out for themselves, especially him. So you got the Predator, trying to get everybody, and then everybody's trying to get the Predator. But meanwhile, the people are still they really can't trust each other either, but they need each other for survival. So I like that aspect of the movie too. The people are as grimy as the Predator,
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that one. I thought it was good. I watched it again this week, and I thought it was pretty solid. Good special effects too. It doesn't look cheap, doesn't look cheap or cheesy or anything. The those animals that run around in the woods, they're like those beasts with the horns coming out of them and everything. That stuff looked good. I thought the special effects looks good. The one guy that gets killed when the Predator reaches down and pulls the spine out with the head on the end of it, that's one of the best kills I think they've done in a Predator movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, looks really good. So I like this one. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Craig?
I concur. I have Predators plural as my number 3. One of the things that that I definitely enjoyed with this is that it gives you finally get a battle that you were cheated out of in the first movie, and that's where Billy stays behind with his knife and says that he knows he's going to die and he's going to fight the Predator himself. In the first movie, all you hear is probably a limitation of the budget. You just hear and that's it. You don't see. In this movie, the Yakuza guy has like a nice fight scene with his samurai sword against the Predator. Spoiler alert, they both lose. But you got what you missed in the first movie. Initially, when I saw this the first time some years ago, and just rewatched it for the first time in many years a few days ago. And I remember when I first saw this, I wasn't initially sold on Adrian Brody being a action star, being that, who at the time he really hadn't done any, he had just done dramas. He was an Oscar winner and it still is, but I wasn't sure how he would do. And he actually holds up pretty well, in the movie. And I'd read that he bulked up and put on, added some muscle and everything to play the part, and which makes sense because a lot of soldiers that you see, real life soldiers, they're not huge like Arnold and Jesse Ventura and those guys. They're just more in shape, like the way that he looks in the movie. I really enjoyed the supporting cast. Walton Goggins is the guy the prisoner who gets his spine ripped out. He's a great supporting actor, really good in Justified, if anyone's seen that on FX. And he also is really good at comedy on some other shows that he's done on HBO. But and Topher Grace, the first time I saw this, I didn't see that coming. It's like, well, why is this guy among all these killers and assassins and soldiers and whatnot? And that makes sense when that happens. But I enjoyed this. I think upon rewatch more than I did the first time when I watched it. Because if you would have asked me this a few years ago, I would have probably flip-flopped this with Predator 2. But I really did enjoy this more the second time around. And it's just too bad the way that the movie ended. They could have built on something after it, the way that it kind of leaves you hanging at the end, that it's like, well, how are they going to get off the planet? But we never found out. But yeah, Predators from 2010, a lot of fun.
It's too bad they didn't allow Danny Trejo's character to last a little bit longer in this, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Maybe he was too old to do the stunts that were coming up later.
Yeah, it could be, but I was kind of like, come on, leave Machete in there a little bit longer,
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, what do you got?
All 4 of you guys are buffering a little bit, which tells me I'm probably the one buffering. So I hope I'm not buffering too bad. You hear what I'm saying. And first of all, I wanted to show off my new shirt. Look at that evilness right there. I got this today in the mail, and my wife said, "Where are you gonna wear that?" And I said, "I'm gonna wear it tonight on the Monsters Den."
I'm sorry, what is it? I can't read it. What?
The Witch.
Which, yeah.
That's the witch,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. No, because you are you are kind of buffering or blurring a little bit.
Yeah, I know I'm buffering. I can
Okay.
tell.
Nice.
Well, my number 2 might surprise you. It's this one, the first one. So yeah, I saw it in the theater. I liked it. I don't put it on the same level as like Aliens and all that. I think the character, introducing the character, is more iconic than the movie itself. I do think it's the most dude movie of all time. Maybe second to Shawshank Redemption, because that might be the most dude movie of all time. I had a friend who was female, and she was on dating websites, and she said, every guy I look at his profile, favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption. So that's why I put that number 1. This is 2.
I never seen
Yeah, it's silly in a nice 80s kind of way. You're getting the lines that, they just don't make movies like this anymore, where Schwarzenegger stabs a guy to the wall and he says, "Stick around." They just don't do lines like that anymore. Jesse Ventura saying, "I ain't got time to bleed." Lines like that you could only get away with kind of back in the 80s. And both of those guys became governors. Crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy. So yeah, it's Alien meets Rambo, which you can't go wrong with in the 80s. It's a fun movie. The effects still hold up. I mean, the actual face of the Predator, it looks as good then as it does in today's movies, with the moving parts and everything. The ending where he covers himself in mud was pretty innovative at the time. But what I don't like, and here we go again, kind of in line with the Predator talking, I hate the laugh at the end. Oh man, I hate when he starts laughing. And then you hear it through the woods, kind of like Belloc in the beginning of Raiders Lost Ark, when he holds up the thing and starts laughing and you hear him through the woods. It reminds me of that. Yeah, I was never a big fan of the motherfucker and the talking and all that stuff. But yeah, I still like Predator, but it's not my number 1.
Cool. Well, my number 2 is Predators. Is it me, or should they just name these all Predator, Predator 2, 3, and 4?
There's numbers. Yeah.
Predators, the Predator. It's like, come on.
Then you're gonna have the Prey.
Yeah, it's like, God, whatever. But anyway, the Predators, or Predators, not the, actually, like I said, in rewatching this again recently, it elevated to number 2. And I actually really enjoyed this film a lot. I think it's really well made, really well acted, great cast, lots of action. The Predators look spectacular. The special effects are really good. There's plenty of gore, and it's a good story. And I like how they introduced Lawrence Fishburne's character in here, right, which is pretty neat. Goggins plays such a dick in this, that he's great at that. He's perfectly cast in that role. I still kind of have a little issue with Adrian Brody as the lead kind of character. I don't know. I
have that issue in King Kong too.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's something about him that I just don't. He doesn't seem like leading man to me, either as an action star, as a dramatic leading role. Like the love interest kind of take charge guy. I don't know.
Who knows?
I guess it's got to be right. I don't know for some reason, but I think he's good in this film, and I don't know. It's just fast paced, and I really enjoy it. I tell you what, if I didn't really have like the emotional and nostalgic connection to the first film, this would be my favorite of the bunch. Because I think if that first film is not quite the classic that we all, I think, perceive it to be, this film is great. And
yeah,
really,
I was able to put that
enjoyable.
aside.
Yeah. So it's my number 2.
I like the way you get the P2, the way you see there's 2 Predators. One uses the other one as bait too. So you get the hierarchy amongst the Predators, that some are stronger than others.
Yep. And for me, I like towards the end where Adrian Brody's character sets the one who's been in prison free, and
Yeah.
they're actually kind of going to team up together. I almost feel bad that Predator just gets massacred within like, 2 minutes of them fighting. It's
Yeah, they all have a sense of the Predators all have a sense of honor, that it's like, if you do them right, they'll, in Predator 2, he throws him a trophy, at the end of the gun. And, he was a cooperating, freed hostage in Predators, because he showed him where his ship was. And it's like, I'll give you a ride.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how they collect the skulls. They just have the curse, Pete.
Yeah,
They just got the curses real with them too.
collect them all, right?
That's it.
They can't help themselves.
See, Chris, everybody, they're following you.
At
Hollywood
least,
is
at least
following
their thing is free though.
Yeah.
exactly. Very true.
Sure.
All right, Chris, number one. We know what
All
it
right,
is.
Predator, 1987. I saw it twice in 2 different theaters in 1987. I love it. I think it's the most quotable movie of all time.
Yeah.
I will completely, though, disagree with Jamie. Jamie said they don't make movies like this anymore. They totally do. They made it in 2018 and called it Predators, The Predator. The difference is it totally worked in 1987 and it did not work in 2018 because it's
Yeah, but they don't have like those one-liners that are only like 5 words in the sentence, like stick around.
Right, but they had a lot
the
of
jokes
really,
are more
That
broad.
was the thing in the 80s,
right, but they had a lot of really
It's of the
stupid
time.
comedy in
Yeah,
in
yeah, the
Predator.
comedy's
They
there,
tried,
but
and it
certain
just didn't work. But
And it was Arnold's shtick too. He had that in
Yeah.
every
True.
movie.
but I was
Bond,
gonna say,
James Bond is the only one that probably does it these days.
right.
That little.
But I was going to say, if it wasn't for them talking about reshooting things, if it wasn't for them reshooting the look of the Predator, and I don't know if anybody ever saw the footage that they had of Jean-Claude Van Damme as the original Predator, but it is horrific. And if they hadn't changed that, there would be no franchise, and we would not be discussing these movies right now, because if anybody saw it, it's like a big red, like a bug. And they told Jean-Claude Van Damme to run around the jungle, and they were like, "Oh, we'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post." And then of course they brought in Stan Winston with a whole new makeup design and reshot everything, and it looks, obviously it worked.
Oh, yeah.
But the original with Van Damme is horrendous. And thank God they did what they did, because we wouldn't be
Stan
talking
Winston
about
is a genius. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy's,
I wonder what that other tattoo would be if that movie didn't exist. Would it be Conan the Barbarian? Or you already got that?
Here you
Oh,
go.
I do have a Conan tattoo.
Okay.
But and James Cameron was the one that influenced the mandibles, because James Cameron was talking with Stan Winston and said, what would be cool? I always wanted to see like a monster with mandibles. So Stan Winston was like, okay, threw that in, and there we go.
yeah.
Does anybody know if there's like an extended or a director's cut of this movie, of the 87 one? Because
As far
everybody's
as I
got
know, no.
everybody's got different cuts, different versions, remastered versions, extended cuts, all this stuff. No?
Unfortunately, no. But who knows? Maybe one day something will surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rich.
Yeah. The 87 one, still one of my favorite action movies, sci-fi movies. I love all the main actors, the action, the creature, fights, special effects work still. Everything still looks great. I love the jungle setting. That's perfect, especially for a creature that's camouflages itself. I saw it. I think I saw it in the theater actually too,
Yeah, I did.
if I remember correctly. I was 87, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still one of my favorites, up there with Alien and Aliens and Jaws and all those other kind of movies with the creatures in it and the suit. And you can't even, and the guy in the suit too looks great. You can't even tell really it's a person in the suit. He just moves, the way the suit fits to his body and everything. It still looks excellent.
Yeah. It's one of the coolest creature designs ever, I think.
Yeah.
Right, Chris, right up there with Creature from the Black Lagoon, I think. It's
100%. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if anybody that's a fan of the Predator, they should check out a movie called Without Warning, which came out a few years earlier, which definitely was an influence on. It seemed like an influence on Predator. Rich talking about the guy in the suit, because it's the same guy in another suit, and that, if nobody's seen it, that's the story of an alien that comes to Earth to hunt people with futuristic weapons. But it came out in 1980, not 1987. But that movie's also a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm looking at the box art now with the poster with the creature and the car and the people outside.
Yeah, so it's like a slasher, except
remember
that he's
I
an
remember that
alien
poster.
with futuristic weapons, and it's fun though. That's a lot. That's on Blu-ray and everything.
All right. Craig.
Yeah, Predator. And it's my favorite Schwarzenegger movie. Has been for many, many years. I enjoy watching that more than any of the Terminator movies. My wife's favorite action movie too. She can watch that at any time, and because she likes it because it's small cast and easy to follow story. As
Great
Chris
point.
had said, I mean. The lines in this, I mean, I have like 3 or 4 friends on retainer that I can just text at any moment and say, Billy, I was going up with my wife the other day, I mean, I can just do, anything to say, complete the line, and to the entire movie. And that we can just go back and forth on this. I saw this in the theater in '87, loved it. And it's kind of almost like a perfect type action movie that's like, and after almost everyone dies, you feel, oh man, I wish that guy would have made it longer. I can't believe Jesse Ventura wasn't one of the last guys standing in this movie. And just a lot of fun, always loved it. And fun trivia moment, the Anna, the woman that lives, she's in the video for Rolling Stones, Under Cover of the Night. So go back and watch those, and you'll see the girl from Predator in that.
Cool.
So when Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger first meet, and they go, "You son of a bitch," and they start
CIA got you
wrestling.
pushing too many pencils.
Yeah, has that become like this big iconic
that's
scene
a thing
now, like in
like
movie
there's
history?
T-shirts of it and buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get to the
I didn't get the memo on that. I didn't know that happened.
Get to
about
the
a year
chopper
ago.
is the one that I always see.
Yeah.
The big line from that. But no, I mean, it's every time I hear Long Tall Sally, I think of the parts, and that with Bill Duke singing it, and hearing it play in the helicopter, and spitting chaw, and it's a real nasty habit you got there, just all the lines in the movie.
Me and my friends say all the time, if we're walking somewhere for more than a couple minutes because we're all old, it's always like, hey, if you fall behind, you're on your own.
Yeah. Or anytime anytime something looks, it's like, oh, do you want to go on this road? Wouldn't waste that on a broke dick dog. I mean, it's like, how many?
Yeah.
I think everyone's
it's got to be the
thrown out
most
these
quotable
lines.
movie of all time.
Yeah.
No one's saying "fuck me in the face" with an aardvark.
No,
Not
maybe
yet.
in like 50 years from now, there'll be a T-shirt of that. But
That'd be a T-shirt.
It'll be a cult classic. Yeah.
All right, Jamie.
I'm going with Predators from 2010 as my number one. It's meat and potatoes sci-fi action. There's no side stories. I love it how it opens with them falling from the sky and they land in this jungle. Nobody knows each other. Nobody knows where they're at. Right away, I'm intrigued. And there's no north, south, east, or west. I'm like, is this like a holodeck from Star Trek? Are they in some, confined area that's controlled? What's going on? It's like a mystery kind of. And then they get to the end of the woods and they see all those planets and it's an oh
That's a
shit
great
moment.
shot. I forgot about that.
You go, oh shit. I just like it more than the first one. It's basically a sci-fi Most Dangerous Game when you think about it.
Yeah.
Instead of like 2 people, you got whatever 7 people. I think they all work well off each other. I think there's chemistry between them. You got some dark humor with the one guy saying, when I get home, I'm going to do me a lot of coke and rape me some bitches. You're like, that's awful, but and then the other guy's like, yeah, 5 o'clock, rape bitch time, It's funny. It's dark, but it's funny. I think Lawrence Fishburne showing up, his whole little part is really cool. I like how they kind of introduce him when he takes the thing off. The one thing I can do without is the doctor actually being a psychopath. They did not need to do that. It kind of destroys all his character because he's the one who was like, yeah, 5 o'clock, let's rape bitch time. Dude, you're faking it, but you're selling it too much, dude. I thought that's who you really were. They should have kept him as that kind of doctor guy. They didn't have to turn him
It's
evil.
almost like they
His no-
wanted
his-
to throw like a villain into it, you know.
Well,
So,
Yeah.
and his knowledge of being a doctor also played in picking out the poisons that he used at the end, or he recognized that these plants were poisonous or something.
Here's two things that make up for that. First of all, Alicia Braga is gorgeous in this movie.
Yeah.
My God, and she's badass, and she's pretty, and she's sweaty and dirty, and she's got her hair pulled back, and she's a brunette. She's got that olive skin. My God, I cannot take my eyes off her in this movie. And another thing this movie does that's unbelievable is Danny Trejo is set up as a trap. And you hear his voice going, "Help me." And you know it's a trap. The viewer knows it's a trap. But it's the Predator imitating his voice. And that scene makes me go back in time. And I don't mind as much now that he said motherfucker in 2. Now I mind a little less that he was laughing in the first one. That one scene made all the other ones better.
Well,
So, yeah, this movie made the other ones better for me.
all the Predators lines are mimics of other
Yeah.
Right.
other people. So I mean, so that's
Yes.
what the laugh at the end of the movie is, Billy laughing at the joke, and everything. And
But I don't think it was done well enough as a mimic. That was done so well as a mimic that I see the other ones more as a mimic now. And now I'm buying that better than I was previous. So yeah, Predators, my favorite.
cool. I can't argue that. I'm gonna go with the first one. Obviously, again, I think it's a nostalgia thing, and it's the one we saw first and the one we've enjoyed for more time. But I think the third film is growing with me pretty quickly. But yeah, that first film is it's a classic for a reason. And it not only did it introduce a great iconic monster character, but it had one of the great action stars of the 80s and the early 90s doing what he does best. I mean, Arnold, let's face it, Arnold is that movie, and he's spectacular in it.
I think it made him an A-lister, that movie. He was in the movies prior, but that made him an
before
A-lister.
that, but
Yeah.
he carried movies before that.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy watching him in this movie probably even more than I enjoy him in the Terminator films.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think so
for
too.
sure.
And those are great too, but this is it. Arnold battling monsters, I'm okay with that. It's why we love the Conan films, and it's just where he needs to be. So, and it's really, I think for me, it's been tough all these years watching Arnold get older and knowing that he really can't do these type of roles anymore. He's like one of those guys. It's like, it's like all your favorite actors, whatever, as they get older, you're like, I really miss the days when they did these type of films. And I think we kind of wanted Arnold to stay younger and fit and big and buff like that his whole life. And unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. Because do we want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger doing this role at age 70 something? Not really. Be great if he could.
Now he's getting knocked over by everyday people at one of his Arnold fests like a couple years ago. Some guy attacked him.
Yeah.
No,
He's not the big badass anymore.
Arnold.
He's had open heart surgery and all that. And, he's still in good shape for a 75-year-old.
Yeah.
He can still bang a maid or two.
Hmm.
And he has. All right, so there you have it, everybody. Ranking the Predator films, all 4 of them as we have now, but the 5th one is on the way. So when that one comes out in August, and we all get to watch it, maybe we'll reconvene and talk about that one. So far, trailer looks interesting. Just a little spoiler alert: that little gun that is given to Danny Glover at the end of the 2nd film, apparently that's got some ties to what this new film is all about, because it's kind of a prequel. So go check out the trailer, see what you think, and we'll talk again in August about that. But down below in the comment section, rank these films as you like them, and stay tuned next week, where we will talk about the 2 Alien versus Predator films to wrap up this 3-part series and talk about kind of what happened there, what we think of those, and maybe how they could have been better, and maybe why they were so disappointing or not. Maybe folks on here really enjoy those or not. So we'll see you next week, as we'll all be rewatching those. And thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. For Chris Laszlo, Craig Kaminski, Rich Catino, and Jamie Laszlo, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next week on The Monsters Den. Take care. Bye-bye.